going to be recommending that we discontinue the services of our boys and girls group home. I think if I can give you just a little brief history, it'll help you better understand why I'm making this recommendation and how I've gotten to this point. Counties started to develop group homes back in the 70s, simply because back then there were essentially two types of placements: a foster care placement and institutional placements. There was no go-between. Counties developed group home placements that were a little more structured than foster care, but not nearly as structured as institutional placements. And that was a good thing to do. And Lebanon County, we started our group homes in 1977, a boys group home and a girls group home. And it continued that way, and then around the mid-'80s, you started to see the development of private placement providers that would provide private foster care, specialized foster care, community, what was then termed community residential placements. And as a result, counties found it simpler to purchase services from those providers as opposed to continuing to operate their own group homes. In fact, some counties opted to purchase all placement services, including foster care placements, and discontinued their own foster care program. We did not do that, and in hindsight, it was a smart thing for us to continue with our group homes and our foster care program. In fact, for many years, we had one of the largest foster care programs in the entire state. And it continued that way for quite some time. And then around 2006, 2007, I should also say that the deinstitutionalization of children started in the mid-'80s as well, which has helped. Part of the reason why private placement providers were developed. Then around 2006, 2007, there was another push from the state, and that push was for an overall reduction in all children going into placement. They felt that there was more success rate and a better success rate of children remaining in the homes with their biological parents and providing more in-home intensive type services. And I agree with that. That was a smart thing to do. And our placements reduced, just like they did across the state. I started a few years ago just kind of taking from time to time a look at our group home to see how our placements were doing there, and they were going down. And a few months ago, I decided to take a little bit more thorough analysis of our trends at our group home, the data that was available, and I looked at 5 consecutive fiscal years. And what I found during that time period was that our occupancy rate at a group home was only a little over 60%. I also found that our average per diem rate during that same time period was a little over $178 a day. I then went the next step to take a look at the types of youth that are typically placed in our group homes, which are those with incorrigible behaviors, parent-child conflicts, status offense, behavioral community problems in the community, school, truancy, those types of things, and the private providers that we have who would take those youth if we didn't have our group home. I determined their average per diem rate was a little over $110 a day. That's a difference of $68 a day. I then went one step further and looked at the first 10 months of this fiscal year and had Karen Alonzo project that out for the year. Our per diem rate, average per diem rate for this fiscal year, and again, that's a projection because we have 2 months at that time that weren't completed yet, was $214 a day. I had Karen calculate that would equate to a savings of a little over $262,000 for this fiscal year. Now, granted, only a little over 20% of that would be county share, which is $52,000. And our budget process is kind of complicated. But the difference, the remaining $210,000 of the state money, could then be used to offset any over expenditures and any other cost centers where it would just continue to go down until it was depleted. The bottom line is I just really truly feel that our group homes are not cost effective as they had been in the past. I think it has come to a point that we really should close them. I think we can get as good a services, if not better services, from the providers that we have. I'm very proud of our group homes. I think we've done an outstanding job in being able to maintain them over the years. Another important facet is I did some checking throughout the state and determined we're really, based on my knowledge, we're only one of 2 counties that still even have group homes. And I think that's something that's important to bring up. I assure you that in no way will the youth that are at our group homes suffer in any way by not having our group homes. We have contracts with some very good providers who provide very adequate care for these children. I do not have an effective date for the closing. This is going to be a transition because we obviously still have children at the group home that will need to be transitioned into other placements. That could take, I'm not going to rush into it because I want to make sure we do right by them. It may take a month or so to find adequate placements and appropriate placements for them. So it's going to take a little time, but and again, this is really hard for me. I've given a lot of thought, but being financially responsible, I just do not foresee these or believe these group homes are being as cost effective as what they used to be. It's my recommendation that we discontinue the programs. This is on my shoulders. This is something that I came up with. There's no influence from the state or anyone. I took this upon myself and did a very thorough analysis. Karen Laws obviously helped me with that. And based on those numbers and trends I've seen over the last 5 3/4 years, I would recommend that we discontinue with those services. Locating, hiring, and maintaining house parents is very cumbersome and difficult. At our girls group home, house parents are gender specific, but can only be females, which adds to the complexity. The civil service process in locating house parents, there isn't even a civil service list anymore for house parents. You have to go through a caseworker trainee listing. We're down 2 house parents right now, and we have been down for a few months. We haven't been able to fill those. And I did neglect to inform you that during the first 10 months of this fiscal year, because obviously those positions need to be maintained, we spent a little over $63,000 just in overtime.